Hi, I'm Asia, and welcome back to the Strange Days Diaries. Today I'm joined by Maggie. Hi, sorry. I feel like I just scared her. Anyways, so if you see a cute little dog behind me, that's Maggie. I'm currently dog sitting, but today I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of my experience at the Academy of Art University here in San Francisco. I have lots of points, and definitely stick around to the end of the video because it gets crazy. I watched a lot of these videos before I even applied to the school or before I was even like seriously interested in the school, because like what better way to get to kind of know what a school is all about other than watching videos of real people retelling like their real experiences there. So now that I've been, I'm excited to make my own video and talk all about my experience at the Academy here in San Francisco. I went to the Academy of Art in 2016 and I dropped out in 2018, and I will get into why I dropped out in this video. But yeah, I studied photography, and yeah, I was there from 2016 to 2018. I was in the dorms for 1 year. I wasn't in the dorm my second year, so I've experienced life at the school in the dorms and outside of the dorms, and I will get all into that and the expense of it all and just my experience in general in this video. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're going to start with the good. Why not start on a good note? My first point in the good category is that the city is your campus. I love this about the Academy. The Academy of Art actually owns the most property in San Francisco out of any company. I believe I'm still correct in saying that, but at least at the time in 2016 they did. And with that being said, they just own a lot of buildings all over San Francisco. It is mostly downtown, but still it is very much spread out. And so with that being said, it means that the city is your campus, and I personally love that. I grew up in a college town where there was like a traditional campus in the town. I didn't attend school there, but I'm very familiar with like campus life and college life on a traditional campus, and the Academy of Art is not that. If you want to go from class to class, you're typically having to hop on a bus and do so, or walk. And I personally loved that. I love San Francisco, so it gave me a great opportunity to really understand and get a hang of life in the city. So I love that. Another point in the good category I want to talk about is actually my #1 reason why I always recommend the Academy to people if they're interested in studying art, and that is the networking opportunities. It is crazy good for networking at the Academy. It's amazing. Everyone from the professors who work there to just the peers and the people in general, they're all great networking opportunities while you're in school and post-college that I will get into in a little bit. The professors actually, at least in the photography department, all of them, if not most of them, are currently working professionals in the industry as photographers, and they just teach part-time at the Academy. And I personally love that. Even though they're not like professional teachers, I think they're great at doing what they do and great at teaching. And I learned a lot more from learning from working professionals than I might have just by learning from a teacher. Almost felt like I was like interning for them in a sense by being their student. So that's like a huge, if not the #1 reason why I suggest going to the Academy. We also, just as students, would help each other out getting jobs in the industry. Our professors would sometimes get us jobs and help us get jobs. And so that was another huge plus to going to the Academy and having our professors be who they are, being working professionals. So that was a huge plus too. Okay, now Maggie's gonna join me for the bad category. Right? You gonna join me for the bad category? Now you're gonna distract me, huh? Yeah. So moving on to the bad category. The first point under the bad category I wanna make is that I was really interested in other mediums other than just photography. I am now a multimedia artist. I am not just a photographer. And even though at the time I was mostly focused on photography, I definitely was interested in, other mediums. And so I was interested specifically in graphic design. And so I really wanted to take Intro to Graphic Design and just see if that was, I don't know, a medium or possibly a degree I would want to pursue. I just wouldn't know unless I took the class. And so I went to my counselor and asked if I could please take and be enrolled in Intro to Graphic Design, or just a basic graphic design class. and she told me that I would be that I could absolutely, but that I would be required to take a semester of prereqs before that. And after digging deeper and talking to her more, I realized that those prereqs were literally the exact same prereqs I took for photography. Hey, okay. And so after digging deeper, yeah, they were the same prereqs that I took for photography already and that I paid for. And it just felt like a weird money cash grab that I would have to pay for another semester of prereqs like math and writing and history of art just to take an intro to graphic design class. That just felt really shady to me. I didn't like that at all. And so I ended up not taking it, which sucked. Another point, and the point that I think a lot of people make, especially in these videos, is that this school is genuinely stupid expensive. It's really expensive. I do think it's worth it, depending a lot on you and like what you're wanting out of the school and what your goals are. But it is so stupid expensive. I'm not gonna get into numbers in this video, but it's not hard at all to like look it up and figure out exactly how much it costs to go to this school. And it's expensive. Another point under the bad category I want to make is that they require you during your first year in the dorms to have a meal plan, which obviously isn't free. We need to pay for a meal plan. And I just thought that was so stupid. Like, you know, I can very easily grocery shop, cook for myself, eat out if I want. I felt like it was shady and like, again, a bit of a money grab to require us to have a meal plan during the first year. I want to say I'm not very familiar with other schools, so maybe this is super common and I just don't know. But I was just like, I don't know. I thought it was weird that they required us to have a meal plan during the first year, especially one that's like, if it's required, I don't know, not that it has to be free, but it's just, again, it just felt like a money grab that was a requirement. Also, again, this was 2016 and this was my experience. Maybe times have changed, but I did look it up and I wrote it down. And it is still the case for students staying in Clara Gale Stevens dorms and Howard Brody dorm during your first year. You do have to have a mandatory meal plan. And to each their own, maybe you'll love that, I don't know, but I didn't like that at all. And speaking of food, another thing under the bad category is, dude, the food. I did not like the food at the food courts. I think there's like 3 or 4 food courts at the academy. I only went to 2. Typically I would just go between 2 different ones and they were fine, but I wouldn't want to live like fully breakfast, lunch, and dinner off of the food the academy makes. I just didn't think it was very nutritious, not the most healthy, not really yummy. I don't know, I didn't like it that much. And so I ultimately ended up still grocery shopping and eating out, which sucked because I was like not only spending so much on my mandatory food plan, but then I was also spending a lot of money grocery shopping and eating out. So yeah, just wasn't a big fan of the food plan in general. But I will say the academy offers what they call night cash, and that was pretty cool. I don't know if there's like different tiers of food plans or meal plans. I'm sure there is, but the one I had included night cash. And that meant that you could take like your student ID, if I'm remembering correctly. You could take your student ID to different restaurants around the city that accept night cash, and you could just eat for free with night cash at that restaurant. And I actually found one of my favorite little, I think it's like a Japanese or Chinese restaurant. I think it's Japanese restaurant through night cash, which is Rock Japanese. If you know, you know. I personally still love Rock. I still live in San Francisco and I still go there. I love Rock Japanese and they accept night cash, so there you go. All right, now it's time to move on to the ugly category. So this one is interesting and very shady, so let's get into it. My first point I want to talk about in the ugly category is that I had a counselor actually trick me into signing up for a $10,000 federal loan. And it sucked so much. I'm still to this day struggling to pay that off. At the time, I had already taken out a shit ton of private loans, which I regret still, but I had taken out a lot of loans and I theoretically took out enough to continue in school during that semester. But what happened was one of the semesters I was at the academy, I had a counselor email me and ask me to come in to pick out my schedule for the upcoming semester because she wanted to talk to me about it. I think generally that was what the email said, and I was just like, great. So I went in, I talked to her, she helped me pick out my classes for the upcoming semester. And at the same time, she convinced me to sign away my rights to a $10,000 federal loan. She convinced me I needed it, but she, I swear to God, wasn't being clear at all. She was being very shady as to what I was signing. But I will say, I will take accountability for the fact that I did not read the entire document I was signing, which, oh my God, learn from my lesson, please. Or learn from my mistake, I should say, please, because I absolutely take accountability for not reading the entire document that I'm signing. I was just trusting what she was telling me was what I was signing. I was young and dumb, man. But yeah, basically she tricked me into signing up for a $10,000 federal loan, so that sucked. Another point in this category is that I actually had a professor tell me I didn't need a degree, which I agree with him still to this day that I didn't need a degree, because I ended up working in the industry and I'm happy with where I am in life, and I'm really glad I dropped out when I did. But he was a huge reason why I dropped out, and I'm sure the school would not have been stoked to hear that one of their professors was telling one of the students that they don't need a degree. So that felt kind of shady and weird that he told me that, because he's a professor. But the reason that he told me I did not need a degree was because I was pursuing fine art, and I was actually building up already a pretty big client list. And it was getting to a point where I was working more than I could go to class. Like basically I was working and skipping class because I was working as a photographer. So it felt counterproductive that I was taking classes for photography when I'm working as a photographer. So I had a meeting with one of my professors, and he was like, honestly, you don't need a degree with the portfolio that you have and with the trajectory that you're going after. And he told me, I guess, that like, if you're not trying to teach art or teach photography or become an art curator or something like that, that you don't need a degree. I don't know if I agree with him exactly, but so far it's worked out for me and I'm glad I dropped out. But at the end of the day, it was a little shady that a professor literally told me I don't need a degree. So another point I want to make is that the dorms, I should say, during the year of 2016, illegally charged all of the tenants, all of us students who stayed in the dorms, too much. And there's currently a lawsuit going on, I believe it's still going on, suing the school for all of the extra money that they charged us for staying in the dorms that year. So that's super shady. It's already a really, really expensive school, and I guess they illegally charged us too much to live at the dorms. So that was pretty crazy. And obviously at the time we didn't know they were charging us too much. They just told us what it was and that's what we paid. So pretty crazy that now there's a lawsuit going on for that. So, and speaking of dorms and property and stuff, the Academy, I think I mentioned it earlier, but they actually own the most property in San Francisco out of any company in the city, at least at the time. In 2016 to 2018, this was the case. I'm not super sure if it's still the case. It probably is, I don't know. But this is cool as a student with the city being your campus. I personally loved that aspect of it. But now that I've lived in San Francisco, especially outside of the school, and the more I talk to locals about this, it's very much a sore topic of conversation, because they have, and I'm not sure if they still are, but they bought out so many apartment buildings, like pretty large apartment buildings. And what they did was they bought out the apartment building. Apparently, by the way, this is all like alleged and this is all what I've been told, but they, I guess, would buy out the apartment building and inform all of the tenants that the Academy of Art has bought the building and that you're more than welcome to stay living there, but that as units become available, they will then be filled with students, and ultimately the entire building will be a dorm. What's nice, I guess, is that they weren't kicking out the current tenants, but they were basically like, this is going to be a dorm building, and what family or tenant or person renting wants to live in a dorm? You know what I mean? So it ended up kind of displacing some families and people living in these buildings and having to find new ones. And then on top of that, San Francisco is already such an expensive place to live and rent. And so it does suck that the Academy owns so many apartment buildings that could be used for, you know, working professionals and people and just living here who could use a place to live. And on top of that, a lot of students leave during winter and summer breaks. Obviously, that's very normal. People go home during breaks. And so there's lots of, like, many months during the year, during the summer and winter months, where there's lots of apartment buildings that are just vacant because the students are gone. And so that sucks a lot, especially for people who are struggling and wanting a place to live, and there's just vacant buildings. I mean, this is a huge topic of conversation, and the Academy is not the only building in person or a company to blame for the rent rising in San Francisco, or just generally for displacement of people, but it is something to say or talk about, that's for sure. And the final thing I want to talk about in the ugly category is graduation. So if I had stayed at the Academy, then I would have been slated, however you say it, to graduate in 2020, which we all know what happened in 2020. And I have a lot of friends who did stay in the program and did graduate in 2020, and they were so excited. They put so much hard work, time, effort, money into getting this degree. And a lot of schools around the country and the world during 2020, during the lockdowns, they still made their graduation special. They still had a big Zoom meeting. They still had some kind of socially distant something to celebrate and commemorate and congratulate the graduating class. But yeah, I guess the school just emailed all of the students a congrats on graduating video/email, and that was it. So I just felt like that was so shitty, like all right, congrats, okay, bye, you know, thanks for your money. Instead of like, I feel like they could have made a big like Zoom meeting with all of the students, something fun, you know, something special, especially during such hard times such as COVID, but they didn't, so that sucked. I don't know. Anyways, I don't really want to end the video on such an ugly note, but I guess I did. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know below. Please comment below any of your experiences if you've been to the Academy. And also, if you're interested in going to the Academy and have any questions, please ask below. I'd love to open just a conversation about the Academy in general in the comments below. I think Maggie needs to go out now, so we're gonna go on a walk. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.